Okay, so if you're an AI founder in 2026, there is one line item on your balance sheet that has suddenly become this mission-critical shield. Not just for your company, but for your own personal assets. We are talking about directors and officers insurance. And trust me, it is no longer just a checkbox. It's an absolute must-have. I want to start with a number that's, well, it's going to get your attention. $56 million. According to Allianz Commercial, that's the average settlement for an AI-related D&O claim. We're not talking about some theoretical, maybe one-day risk. This is a very real, very expensive reality that companies are dealing with right now. And that $56 million figure, it leads to a question that's a whole lot more personal. As a founder, you know the line between your company's risk and your own personal risk can be shockingly thin. So, are you, without even knowing it, putting your personal savings or even your house on the line? For a lot of founders, the answer is a pretty scary yes. And that really gets to the heart of the problem here, the founder's personal risk. So many brilliant people out there believe that their corporate structure, their LLC, is this impenetrable fortress. But in today's AI landscape, that's a really dangerous assumption. And that is exactly where directors and officers insurance, or D&O, comes in. It's literally designed to protect the personal assets of the company's leaders when they get sued over their management decisions.
All right, let's just bust a huge myth right now. There's this idea that an LLC or a C Corp completely shields your personal stuff from lawsuits. The hard reality is, when we're talking about things like a director's fiduciary duty, that corporate veil can absolutely be pierced, and that leaves you personally on the hook for shareholder lawsuits.
So how did we even get to this point? I mean, this is a pretty big deal. Well, it didn't just happen overnight. There's been a massive shift in the insurance market, specifically targeting AI, and it has completely rewritten the rulebook for founders and their companies.
Just look at how fast things have changed. Think about it. Just a few years back, in 2021, getting D&O insurance was simple, almost a rubber stamp purchase. Then, boom, the GenAI explosion happens, and with it comes this wave of IP lawsuits. Now you've got major insurers backing away, settlement costs are through the roof, and the policy that was once easy to get is now super expensive and incredibly hard to qualify for. I mean, the difference between then and now is just night and day. We've gone from a simple form to a process that requires strict third-party audits of your algorithms. And get this, the insurance companies are now using their own AI tools to probe your models for things like bias and IP risks. AI risk used to be just lumped in with general tech, but now policies have specific GenAI exclusions. What was once a minor operating expense is now a mandatory, high-premium financial shield. So what's fueling all this? Well, a big part of it is the SEC cracking down on what they call AI washing. Startups kind of exaggerating their AI capabilities to pump up their valuations. This has brought in a whole new level of regulatory heat, and with it, a whole new category of liability that absolutely terrifies insurance carriers.
And you can bet the market is noticing. Online searches for things like D&O insurance AI startup cost have spiked by 410%. And why is that? It's because VCs aren't just suggesting you get coverage anymore. They are writing it into the term sheet. It's a mandatory step before they'll release a single dollar of funding.
Okay, so let's talk real numbers. What does this all actually cost? Let's get into the hard data that every founder, every CFO, and every VC needs to know. What is the real price of protection in 2026? Take a look at this breakdown. Even if you're just at the pre-seed stage, you're looking at an annual premium that could be as high as $30,000. By the time you hit Series A, that can easily jump to $85,000. And for any later stages, yeah, you're breaking the six-figure mark, no question. These are serious numbers you have to bake into your budget.
This chart right here, this is the whole value proposition in one picture. You see that tiny little bar on the left? That's your average premium. And that giant bar on the right, that's the $56 million mess you're avoiding. You are paying a relatively tiny amount to transfer an absolutely enormous, potentially company-ending risk.
So this really forces us to think about it differently. D&O insurance isn't just another expense on a spreadsheet. For an AI startup today, it's a strategic investment. It's something that actively enables and protects your ability to grow.
And here's why. Without it, you're pretty much stuck. The best VCs will not sign a term sheet if it's not in place. They need to protect their investment and the board members they appoint. And forget about attracting top executive talent. Experienced pros will not take a board seat if their personal assets aren't protected. It has become the mandatory ticket to play at the highest levels. You know, Sarah Lewin-Smith over at S&P Global Markets really hits the nail on the head here. She says you are leveraging your personal home and savings against the statistical probability of a shareholder lawsuit. Wow. I mean, when you frame it like that, the decision is pretty clear, isn't it? The return on your investment for transferring that kind of personal risk is, like she says, infinite. So what is the bottom line in all of this? It's simple. In today's AI world, D&O insurance is your non-negotiable shield. Period. So what do? Here's the game plan. First, you have to stop thinking of D&O as just another expense. It's a strategic asset. Second, accept that it's a mandatory ticket to getting growth capital. Third, start using your D&O coverage as a powerful recruiting tool to attract the best people. And finally, you have to do the math. Calculate the real ROI of protecting your personal wealth from a catastrophic lawsuit. So, I'll leave you with this one critical question. When you look at your startup, your board, and your own personal finances, have you actually sat down and calculated the ROI of transferring this massive risk off of your shoulders? Because in 2026, it might just be the most important calculation you make.